Hola mi amigos! In today's video we are going to talk about motorcycle braking techniques. We'll learn how to brake really fast, how to avoid really bad mistakes, which can cost us thousands of dollars. And we'll look into special cases, like braking mid-corner and purposefully laying the bike down. Stay tuned! There are hundreds of motorcycle crash compilations on YouTube. Hectic road bike crashes in motorcycle mishaps. Epic, scary and unbelievable motorcycle crashes and close calls. 28 stupid and crazy motorcycle close calls and near misses. Stupid, crazy and angry people versus bikers. And tons of other same stuff. If you open any of those videos, you'll notice that more than half of the episodes will be examples of poor braking technique. So, if you don't want these guys popping up under one of your videos, hey man, can I use your clip on my crash compilation? You really have to learn how to brake fast in case you need it. To learn the fast aggressive braking, we need to dive into the physics behind it first. Don't run away just yet, I promise it'll be very basic physics, nothing to worry about. To understand braking, we should understand traction at first. Most of the forces which bring our bike to a halt are created by traction between tires and pavement. And the main thing about traction is that it heavily depends on tire load. The more load, the more weight we have on the tire, the more the traction, and the more stopping force we can squeeze out of it. And the faster you are braking, the most weight ends up on your front wheel. If you are stopping very fast as you can, it's going to be from 95 to 100% of your bike's weight on the front wheel, depending on the type of your bike. But this weight doesn't transfer instantly. It requires a few moments to do it. So, what does it all mean for us? It means two things. First, if we have to stop our bike fast, we must use the front brake. It's physically impossible to stop fast without using the front brake, so we must become proficient with it. Second, because the weight transfer doesn't happen instantly, we can't just grab the front brake with all our force. If we do that, the front wheel will lock up and our bike will end up on its side. It is one of the most common mistakes which people tend to make while braking hard. Let's look at this example for instance. Look at the girl on a scooter. As you can see, she is following the car pretty close, and as the car starts braking, she panics and just grabs the front brake, which results in immediate low side. That is why to make a good fast stop, we have to use so-called progressive braking. It's when you are gradually applying more and more force on the front brake lever, as front wheel gets more and more weight on it. And what about rear brake? When we are slowing down fast, as the front wheel tire becomes more and more loaded, the rear wheel unloads. And because it unloads, it becomes pretty easy to lock up your rear wheel. Locked up rear wheel at the first glance looks not as dangerous as the front wheel lockup. But don't let yourself be deceived. Rear wheel lockup can be even more dangerous than front. When you lock up the front wheel, your bike usually low sides. But when you lock up your rear wheel, you can easily end up with high side, which is usually much more painful and costs more. In order to not lock up your rear wheel, you have to gradually release the pressure on your rear brake. And if your bike is short enough, you can completely release the rear brake in about roughly a second of your aggressive braking. At this point, your rear wheel is essentially in the air and just barely touches the ground. This is the moment of the maximal braking force at your front brake, and at the same time, the moment when you can completely release the rear brake. All this is pretty easy in theory, but actually you have to practice all this stuff on regular basis to become really good at it. And how exactly can you practice your braking skills? Well, let me show you! Here is how I specifically teach braking. I don't say it's the only way, but it's been proven pretty effective, so you can use it as well. We start our braking from pretty slow speeds, somewhere around 25 miles per hour. At first, we don't even bother with braking distance. Our goal is to achieve smooth, progressive braking in a controlled way. As you begin your braking, brace yourself with your knees against the fuel tank and make your back straight, but try to not put any stress on your arms. It's not that important at this speed, but it'll come in handy later, on higher speeds, so it's better to get used to it early. Your straight back will add wind resistance, which plays pretty big role at higher speeds, and relaxed arms will allow your front wheel proceed with its self-stabilizing movements, which will greatly improve your balance during braking. For now, at slow speed, we are essentially rehearsing high-speed braking. Keep your chin up, look straight ahead, don't look down on the pavement. As you start braking, completely close the throttle and start applying the front brake more and more. Don't just grab it with all of your force, squeeze it gradually. To have an idea on how fast you should squeeze it, you can count out loud during the braking. Start with 10. As you are applying your front brake, count very fast to 10, like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 10. At 10, you achieve the most braking force on your brake lever. Now, provided you are practicing on clean, dry pavement, you'll probably stop even before you'll be able to count to 10. So next time, count to 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. At 9, you're applying the maximum force on your brake lever. And next time, you count to 8, and so on. You must apply the front brake gradually during your count with maximum available braking force at the end of your count. And you are counting out loud to have somewhat of a repeatable results, to have a starting point each time you brake. Try to keep your bike absolutely upright during the whole braking process, and even try to stop as vertical as you can. If you can stop and not put your foot down at the end, it means your arms are pretty loose, which is just as they should be. When you are working on applying the front brake, remember to count out loud. Eventually, on clean, warm, dry pavement, on really grippy tires and good suspension, your count will be reduced to around 2. 1, 2. At meh suspension and so-so tires, it would be around 3 or 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. On wet pavement, it'll be around 5 or 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you can start approaching these numbers, you are running the risk of front wheel lockup. Or, if your bike is short and tall enough, you can flip over the handlebars. Be very careful there. When your front wheel locks up, you have somewhere from a half a second to a second of time to react. When you anticipate something, your reaction time will be around 0.2–0.3 seconds, so it should be enough. Just be ready to release the front brake. Remember to look far ahead and keep your arms loose. If at any moment you feel your handlebars suddenly start swinging violently in some direction, it's almost certainly the front wheel lockup. Release the front brake immediately and then reapply it. The same applies to stoppies. If you see that you start making unintended stoppie, release the front brake and then reapply it. Again, be very careful and don't hurry. Braking at the limit of traction is complex skill, so it can't be obtained like this, very fast. So again, take your time and be careful. When you become comfortable with 25 miles per hour speed, increase your speed to about 40 miles per hour. Now brake exactly the same way as previously. Keep looking far ahead, squeeze your knees against the tank, try to keep your arms as loose as possible, and most importantly, remember to apply your front brake in a smooth and progressive way. Count out loud to help you with that task. As you become proficient at 40 miles per hour, try 50 and so on, as long as you have enough space on your pocket. When you try these different speeds, you'll probably notice that your braking distance doesn't change linearly. When you are braking from 40 miles per hour, you'll have more than double the braking distance from 25 miles per hour, though your speed increased much less than 2 times. As a rule of thumb, usually your braking distance doubles as your speed increases roughly each 13 miles per hour. Just for reference, as you become proficient with your front brake, your braking distances roughly should be in this ballpark, as you can see on the screen. You definitely can do better, but at this point your main goal is to achieve repeatable, consistent results. If you try to brake 5 times, 2 times nail it and 2 times get a fair result and 1 time you get very bad result, it's not very good. It's better if you get all 5 times similar, fair result. Okay, now we know the whole fast, aggressive braking procedure. Let's talk about some special cases. First, what if your bike is equipped with ABS? Does it change anything? Yes! When you have ABS, you don't have to worry about front or rear brake lockup. I can still advise you to practice your progressive braking skills, but now you can do it at much faster rate. For example, if you accidentally grab the front brake or put too much pressure on rear, it's not big deal. Anti-lock system will save you from consequences. By the way, on the most ABS-equipped bikes, you will still have better results if you use progressive braking technique than if you just grab the front brake. On the latest high-end bikes, the results are almost identical. But even if you own such a bike, I still encourage you to use a proper braking technique, because later, as you improve, you'll need those skills not only for straight-line braking, but for cornering as well. Speaking of which, can you brake in the corner? Yes, indeed. Surprisingly, the technique to braking in the corner is pretty similar to a straight-line braking. You still have to use your front brake in a smooth and progressive way to stop your bike fast. But there are some complications, obviously. First, when you are leaning your bike, your tires are already using a portion of their traction for cornering. You still can brake, but now you have to apply your brake slower and with less force, just like you do on a wet road, for example. And the more you lean in, the less you can brake. Second big problem with braking in turn is that you have much more problems if you lock up your rear wheel. On a straight line, you kinda can get away with skidding your rear tire for the most part. But in the curve, rear tire skid quickly transition either into low side if you keep skidding, or in a high side if you release the rear brake too fast. So, there is one more counterintuitive thing. In corners, your front brake is usually much more safe option than rear brake. With rear brake, you have to be extremely careful. And the third pretty interesting thing about braking mid-corner is how braking affects lean angle and turning radius. You probably already heard that when braking in corner, motorcycle stands up and goes wide. Is this statement true or false? It's kinda true, but not exactly. Let's take a look on what happens when you start braking in corner. When you are going through the corner, your bike is obviously leaned over to some degree. Look at the front wheel. As you can see now, the contact patch is no longer just below the bike, right? It's now offset to the side. What happens if you begin to brake now? Because the contact patch is offset, the braking force between the tire and the pavement starts to turn the front wheel more into the turn. That's exactly like counter-steering, only it's not you who turn the wheel, it's the braking force into the contact patch. Now, this wannabe counter-steering makes the bike stand up, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it will run wide. You see, when you brake, bike not only stands up, but it also slows down, which makes the turn tighter. These two processes usually cancel each other out, and the bike stays more or less on its course. You can even make the turn much tighter during braking if you apply pressure on the inner handle grip, preventing the bike from standing up. But be very careful with this. You can easily lose traction on the front tire if you are too greedy with brakes or lean angle. In most cases, you'll be just fine if you brake in smooth and progressive manner and just leave the steering alone and keep your arms relaxed. But there is a good chance to run wide if you just grab the brake too fast. In this case, your front wheel is not loaded and it will swing into the turn rather violently, causing the bike to stand up and go wide. It's true even with simple non-cornering ABS. Cornering ABS simply doesn't allow you to brake too much too fast, and bike stays on its course as a result. I think you can catch my drift now. You shouldn't be afraid of braking in corner. However, do it in a very smooth and progressive manner. Don't just grab the brake, it won't do you any good. If you brake smoothly, yes, your bike will stand up a little, but it won't go wide. Alright, now when we know all the theory and we know how to practice our braking, let's have a look at some real-world applications of that. First, about choosing proper speed and braking distance. Remember, your braking distance roughly doubles every 13 miles per hour. Consider it when you choose your speed. For example, if you ride 15 miles per hour faster than everyone else on the highway, it might not look like much, but if a guy in front of you suddenly hit the brakes, you can crash right into him on a pretty high speed. Second thing you may consider is the rate of weight transfer between the rear wheel and the front wheel. As you remember, weight doesn't transfer on the front wheel instantly, it requires some time. More so, if you are accelerating, weight of your bike is on the rear wheel, so you'll need even more time for it to transfer forward. You should also consider this when you are riding on public roads. For example, as you are approaching an intersection with the green light, you may want to accelerate to pass it before light turns red. But it can be a bad idea, because not only you are increasing your speed and therefore increasing your braking distance, you also have the weight of your bike on the rear wheel, so you can't brake as fast as you used to in case you need it. Third little thing is about anticipation. On average, human reaction is about a second point too long for things which you do not anticipate. For things you do anticipate, however, it's much less. It's about 0.2–0.3 seconds. It's much safer to anticipate common hazards on the road and react to them accordingly. For instance, let's talk about an intersection again. Let's say a rider approaches the intersection 30 miles per hour. A pretty reasonable speed for a town, nothing too much. Now, sure enough, some lobotomite blows a red light in front of him. If the guy was ready, he'll start to brake almost a second sooner than if he wasn't, which will save him about 40 feet of braking distance. And the faster you go, the more the difference will be. Fourth good practice is again about anticipation. When you approach some sketchy road situation where you may need to brake hard, you can not only cover your brake, but you can actually apply very small pressure on your front brake lever. This pressure can be so small that you are hardly even slowing down, but this way you remove any little slack your braking system have, and you slightly start to shift your weight on the front wheel, which will help you to brake a little faster at the beginning. This combined will additionally save you about 0.2–0.3 seconds, and on higher speeds it can be quite a lot of distance. That's almost it. Practice your braking a lot. That's without a doubt a very useful skill for a motorcycle rider. Practice will not only help you to stop faster, but also will help you to choose your speed wiser as you become aware of your bike's capabilities. So yeah, don't skip it. I hope this video was useful. Please put a like under it, share with your friends and subscribe to the channel. Have a nice day, thank you for watching. Bye.